Marvel Studios has confirmed that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is being rebooted with Avengers Secret Wars. Now, of course, how rebooted, it's gonna be all down to what do you consider a reboot? A soft reboot and a reshuffle, or a full-on reboot? Because if you're expecting a full-on reboot where everything gets to be redone, you're not gonna get that. But we got some details on the soft reboot and how far-reaching it will be. So I don't think it's much of a secret anymore, especially since Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige and other people working on the MCU franchise have talked about it for years, that when you get to the end of the Multiverse Saga, which of course is the continuation of the Infinity Saga, we are going to hit a point where after Secret Wars, just like in the comics, you get a reboot. Now, of course, a reboot in the loosest sense. It's not exactly that fear-mongering version of reboot that most people think of. Instead, it's sort of, as it's become known, a soft reboot, which still gets a lot of people upset and or they don't know what it's like. But if we look at what Marvel Comics has done with their reboots, specifically Secret Wars, which is, in the comics, their sort of reboot point, you know that it's only happened less than a handful of times, certainly less than DC Comics' Crisis, or Infinite Crisis, or whatever else they call the reboot every 5 years. And instead, Marvel takes things that were in canon, keeps them in canon, but reshuffles them around. So enter what we're talking about in this video, which is how they are going to be handling the post-Secret Wars MCU, what direction they're aiming to go in, and of course, what stays canon and what remains, well, sidelined so they can retell stories, recast actors, and do a whole new thing. So again, everything we know that's happened so far will remain in canon. It's like J.J. Abrams' 2009 Star Trek reboot. Yes, it's a reboot, but again, everything is canon that happened before, they're just rewriting history. Enter post-Secret Wars MCU. So per recent reports, this was the original plan for Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, to set up Avengers Secret Wars and reboot everything. And essentially what they were setting up was when the Kang Dynasty was happening, there was going to be a big twist that reveals that the Earth that we've seen in the films, aka the Earth and characters we've seen so far, were not 616 original. AKA, apparently, it would have been revealed that those characters continued to live a different post-Endgame life, and what we were watching was slight variants of these characters that were a spin-off off of what happened in Loki. They were a slight branch in the timeline. And what would have happened is that then we would have had the original Earth battling this new Earth of characters we discovered. And what I guess the idea behind this was to show that Doctor Strange, for example, knew about some of these differences, especially when it came to going to the Multiverse of Madness and talking about the Fantastic Four with the Illuminati. You know, he mentions, didn't you guys chart in the 60s? Because, again, in the original MCU, apparently the plan was to establish the Fantastic Four as gone, missing multiverse characters, but establish that then the Fantastic Four at the time would have been these missing characters that landed in an alternate universe. But again, all these plans were allegedly scrapped because they didn't want to take this approach because they figured you could alienate fans. You established Shang-Chi, you established what happened with Spider-Man, you established Multiverse of Madness, and now we find out they're all variants? Okay, so where's the original ones? Oh, now they're going to be the bad/good guys of Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars, but we care about those characters, and now we care about their variants, even if they're slight deviations. See Deadpool and Wolverine with that issue, right? So again, I understand why in the Kang Dynasty you would want to abandon all this, and how Doomsday is now rewritten to be a completely different thing, with Secret Wars becoming a wholly different thing that, honestly, it seems like that they're going to take some wild swings, which is why we're going to now jump on to talking about Secret Wars and how they're aiming to just straight up wrap up the film, wrap up the multiverse saga, set up a reboot, and take the MCU into a whole new world that includes essentially everything existing all at once. Nothing is behind any sort of embargoes or anything like that anymore. So per these reports, here's how they're going to be handling how the post-Secret Wars MCU is established. So by the time we get to Secret Wars, we are in that Battle World scenario. If you're not familiar with Battle World, it's when Doctor Doom snaps the Infinity Gauntlet in the comics, and he recreates one world under Doctor Doom's rule, more or less. And everybody is battling it out over supremacy, and every single multiverse that's ever existed is put into one planet. They all got their little corners of their universe, and that's that. Everything starts to fall apart because, obviously, everybody wants things to get back to normal. So ultimately, what ends up happening at the end is, once again, Doctor Doom ends up winning, and he reshapes pretty much everything again, but this time he saves the day. Everything is more or less put back into the natural flow of time and the timeline flowing, but a few exceptions are made, such as he fully restored his face, it's no longer mangled, and there's a couple different things, and a handful of characters remember what happened. Enter how they want to do it in Secret Wars. Essentially, they want that same effect. And per these reports, it's going to all come down to the giant battle, and it's going to end with a complete reset and deletion of everything. Now, this doesn't mean that everything you watched is gone. It's still canon building up to this moment. But what they're going to do is just stop right there and do a ripple effect on the entire multiverse. So the sacred timeline is going to, the way it's branching out, pull back in. But because there's so many permutations, you now have problems. Because, hey, the mutants didn't exist in the MCU proper on the sacred timeline up until everything happened with fracturing it. So what do? Well, you got to restore it. So they're going to truncate everything into one timeline, and now everything's got to coexist. So after Secret Wars, the universe will just be as if everything always existed. So X-Men have been here the entire time. Iron Man's been flying around. Iron Man being recast has been teased by Marvel Studios. Captain America and Wolverine fought together during World War II. You didn't see it because different timeline, but now we can show you that. So they're going to recast actors, they're going to keep some originals, they're going to continue to tell stories in a fresh new universe that's now more like DC Superman, where everything just exists in a comic book world instead of having to piecemeal everything out due to different rights and embargoes and things like that. So everything under one roof, officially living in one timeline that's been restored. No more sacred timeline, there's just one timeline, and now everything keeps going forward. And honestly, this all sounds great, I think it's exactly what you need to do after the complexity of the multiverse. Pull it back in and just go, okay, we're back on course, and while DC's doing their own multiverse and million universes or whatever James Gunn said, Marvel has one universe, hopefully to bring everybody back, recast actors, retell some classic stories, who knows, maybe even a new Iron Man trilogy. Now they can do it because they've reset everything to a restart point. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.